The first time I saw Javier Morales again, my heart stopped, not from love, but from the raw, jagged memory of betrayal. 8 years ago, in the humid chaos of a Miami summer, he'd been the boy who broke me, the one who left without a word, leaving my teenage heart shattered like glass on asphalt. Now, standing in the crowded Brooklyn coffee shop, his dark eyes locked onto mine, and I felt that same glass cracking all over again. I was 27 now, Miles Carter, a graphic designer scraping by in New York City, trying to outrun the ghosts of my past. I'd built a life here, one of late-night deadlines, bodega runs, and a small circle of friends who didn't ask about the scars I carried. But Javier, tall, lean, with that same tousled hair and a new shadow of stubble, stood there like a living wound, ordering a court adieu as if he hadn't upended my world a lifetime ago. Miles? His voice was soft, hesitant, but it hit me like a freight train. I gripped my laptop bag, my knuckles whitening. I wanted to run, to disappear into the city's pulse, but my feet stayed rooted. He stepped closer, and I caught the faint scent of cedarwood, the same cologne he'd worn at 17. It's been a long time. I forced a nod, my throat tight. Yeah, it has. My voice was cold, a shield against the flood of memories. Late-night talks under Miami's neon glow, stolen kisses behind the bleachers, the promises we made before he vanished. I didn't ask why he was here. I didn't care, or so I told myself. He gestured to the empty chair across from me. Can we talk? His eyes, those damn eyes, held a flicker of something. Guilt, maybe, or hope. I wanted to say no, to walk away and leave him in the past where he belonged. But something in me, some foolish, aching part, nodded. The coffee shop buzzed around us, a cacophony of clinking cups and murmured conversations, but it felt like we were the only two people in the room. Javier sat, his hands fidgeting with the edge of his cup. He looked different, older of course, but there was a weight to him now, a quiet intensity that hadn't been there when we were kids. Back then, he'd been all charm and reckless dreams, the kind of boy who could make you believe in forever. Until he didn't. I owe you an explanation, he began, his voice low. I know I hurt you, Miles. I didn't mean to. But, didn't mean to? I cut him off, my voice sharper than I intended. You ghosted me, Javier. No call, no text, nothing. You left me thinking I did something wrong, that I wasn't enough. The words spilled out, raw and unfiltered, years of pain clawing their way to the surface. Do you know what that does to a kid? To someone who loved you? His face crumpled, and for a moment, I saw the boy I'd known vulnerable, scared. I was a coward, he said. My dad found out about us. He didn't take it well. He gave me an ultimatum. Leave you or lose everything. I was 17, Miles. I didn't know how to fight back. I stared at him, the words sinking in like stones. I'd spent years hating him, building him up as the villain in my story, but now he was here, peeling back the layers of his own pain. It didn't erase the hurt, but it cracked something open inside me, a sliver of understanding I wasn't ready to face. Why now? I asked, my voice softer but still guarded. Why show up after all this time? He leaned forward, his eyes searching mine. Because I never stopped thinking about you. Because I'm finally in a place where I can face what I did. And because I want to make it right if you'll let me. The rest of that day passed in a blur. I left the coffee shop with Javier's number burning a hole in my phone, a mix of anger and curiosity warring in my chest. I didn't call him, not that day or the next, but on the third night, alone in my cramped Bushwick apartment, I stared at his name on my screen and wondered what it would mean to let him back in. New York was a city of second chances, wasn't it? A place where people reinvented themselves, where pasts could be buried under the weight of new beginnings. But could I trust Javier again? Could I trust myself? I thought of my life since Miami. The years of hiding who I was, the relationships that fizzled because I couldn't let anyone too close. I'd built walls so high they blocked out the sun, and Javier's reappearance was like a crack in the foundation, letting light seep through. Dangerous, reckless light. Finally, I texted him, "Meet me at Prospect Park tomorrow. Noon. We'll talk." Short, simple, no promises. But as I hit send, my heart raced, and I knew I was stepping into something I couldn't control. The park was alive with autumn's vibrancy. Leaves in shades of crimson and gold, families laughing, joggers weaving through the paths. I spotted Javier near the lake, his flannel shirt rolled up to his elbows, his hands in his pockets. He looked nervous, and it stirred something in me, a memory of the boy who'd once held my hand under the stars. "Miles," he said as I approached, his smile tentative but warm. "You came. I said I would." I kept my tone neutral, but my eyes betrayed me, lingering on the way his hair caught the sunlight. Damn him for still being beautiful. We walked along the lake, the silence between us heavy but not uncomfortable. He told me about his life since Miami, how he'd moved to Chicago, worked odd jobs, came out to his family after years of silence. His father had disowned him, but he'd found a community, a purpose. He was a social worker now, helping queer kids navigate the world he'd once been too scared to face. "I thought about you every day," he said, stopping by the water's edge. "Every time I helped a kid, I saw you. The way you used to smile, the way you made me feel like I could be myself. I messed it up, Miles, but I never stopped loving you." The words hit me like a wave, pulling me under. I wanted to push him away, to protect myself from the vulnerability his presence demanded. But as I looked into his eyes, I saw the truth in them, the regret, the hope, the love that had never quite died. "I don't know if I can do this," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "You hurt me, Javier. Badly." "I know," he said, stepping closer. His hand brushed mine, a fleeting touch that sent a shiver through me. "But I'm here now, and I'll spend every day proving I'm not that scared kid anymore." That night, I lay awake, replaying our walk, his words, the way his touch had felt like a lifeline. I didn't trust him, not yet, but I couldn't deny the pull between us, the way my heart seemed to beat in time with his. For the first time in years, I felt something other than anger or fear. I felt hope, fragile and dangerous, but undeniable. As I drifted to sleep, I wondered if Javier Morales, the man who'd broken my heart, might also be the one to help me heal it. And that thought, terrifying as it was, felt like the beginning of something new. The days after our walk in Prospect Park blurred into a strange dance of avoidance and longing. I'd see Javier's name light up my phone, a simple good morning or a photo of the city skyline, and my heart would lurch, caught between wanting to respond and wanting to run. But New York, with its relentless energy, didn't give me time to hide. Javier suggested meeting again, this time at a small art gallery in the Lower East Side. "It's low pressure," he texted. "Just art and us. No expectations." I agreed, telling myself it was just curiosity, not the pull of something deeper. But as I stepped into the gallery, the air thick with the scent of paint and possibility, I knew I was lying to myself. He was already there, standing in front of a vibrant mural of a cityscape, all sharp lines and bold colors. At 28, Javier had grown into himself. His shoulders broader, his movements more deliberate, but his smile still carried that boyish warmth I'd fallen for at 16. He turned as I approached, and the way his eyes lit up made my chest ache. "Miles, you made it," he said, his voice a soft anchor in the crowded room. "This place reminds me of you. All this creativity, all this life." I raised an eyebrow, deflecting. You don't know me anymore, Javier. I'm not that kid sketching in notebooks. Maybe not, he said, stepping closer. But I see it in you. The way you look at things like you're pulling them apart and putting them back together in your head. You're still an artist. His words caught me off guard, slicing through the walls I'd built. I turned to the mural, pretending to study it, but really, I was trying to steady my breathing. How did he still know me so well? How did he see the parts of me I'd buried? We wandered through the gallery, talking about the art, the city, anything but the past. But it was there, lurking in every pause, every glance that lingered too long. He told me about his work with queer youth, how he'd started a nonprofit in Chicago to help kids like us, kids who felt trapped by their families, their fears. I told him about my freelance gigs, the late nights designing logos for startups, the way I'd learned to love New York's chaos. You always wanted to come here, he said as we stepped outside into the crisp October air. You used to talk about it like it was some kind of promised land. I laughed, a little bitter. Yeah, well, I also thought we'd come here together. The words slipped out before I could stop them, and Javier's face softened. Miles, don't, I said, holding up a hand. Let's not do this now. But he didn't listen. He never did. I meant what I said in the park. I want to make this right. I know I don't deserve your trust, but I'm asking for a chance to earn it. He nodded, his expression a mix of hope and resignation. I'll wait, as long as it takes. Over the next few weeks, Javier became a quiet presence in my life. A text here, a coffee meetup there, each moment chipping away at my defenses. We met at a diner in Harlem, where he laughed at my obsession with sweet potato fries. We walked through Central Park, where he told me about the first time he'd stood up to his father, how it had cost him everything but set him free. Each encounter was a thread, weaving us back together, but I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. One evening, he invited me to a fundraiser for his nonprofit, held in a loft in Dumbo. The room was filled with activists, artists, and kids who looked at Javier like he was their hero. I watched him move through the crowd, his charisma lighting up the space, and felt a pang of pride, and something else, something I wasn't ready to name. A young trans kid, maybe 16, approached me during the event. Their name was Riley, with bright blue hair and a shy smile. You're Javier's friend, right? They asked. I hesitated. Something like that. He talks about you, Riley said, their eyes bright. Says you're the reason he does this. That he messed up once with someone he loved, and he's trying to make up for it. I froze, the weight of their words settling over me. Javier had been carrying me with him all these years, just as I'd carried him. The realization was a quiet earthquake, shaking loose the anger I'd clung to for so long. Later that night, Javier found me on the rooftop, the Brooklyn skyline glittering below us. The air was cool, and I shivered in my thin jacket. Without a word, he draped his scarf around my neck, his fingers brushing my skin. The gesture was so small, so intimate, that it stole my breath. You're doing good work, I said, breaking the silence. Those kids, they look up to you. They keep me going, he said, leaning against the railing. But you, Miles, you're why I started. I couldn't save us back then, but I can help them now. I turned to him, my heart pounding. Why didn't you tell me that? He smiled, sad and soft. Because you deserved to hear it when I was ready to back it up with actions, not just words. For the first time, I saw him clearly. Not the boy who'd hurt me, but the man he'd become. Flawed, yes, but trying. And in that moment, under the city's endless stars, I felt the first stirrings of forgiveness. I'm still scared, I admitted, my voice barely audible. But I'm here. That's something, right? It's everything, he said, and when his hand found mine, I didn't pull away. The rooftop moment lingered in my mind like a song I couldn't stop humming. Javier's hand in mine, the city sprawling below us. It felt like a promise, fragile but real. But promises, I'd learned, were easily broken, and I wasn't ready to let my guard down completely. We started spending more time together, our meetings no longer accidental but intentional. A Sunday brunch in Williamsburg, a late-night movie at an indie theater in the village, a quiet afternoon sketching by the Hudson. Each moment was a step closer, a slow unraveling of the walls I'd built. But with every step, the past loomed larger, whispering doubts I couldn't ignore. One crisp November evening, Javier invited me to his apartment in Bed-Stuy. "Just dinner," he said over the phone, his voice warm. "I make a mean arroz con pollo. No pressure." I agreed, but as I stood outside his brownstone, my heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fear. His apartment was small but cozy, filled with books and plants, a guitar leaning against the wall. The air smelled of spices and warmth, and Javier moved through the kitchen with an ease that made me ache for the life we might have had. He was 28 now, a man who'd carved out a place in the world, and I couldn't help but wonder where I fit into it. Dinner was laughter and stories, the kind of night that felt like a memory even as it unfolded. We talked about everything, our dreams, our fears, the years we'd lost. But as the night wore on, the conversation turned to Miami, to the summer that had changed everything. "I never told you the whole story," Javier said, his voice low as he set down his wine glass. "When my dad found out about us, it wasn't just words. He hit me, Miles, told me I was a disgrace, that I'd ruin the family. I was scared, and I ran. I stared at him, the weight of his words sinking in. I'd imagined so many reasons for his disappearance, but never this. Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I would have been there for you." "I know," he said, his eyes glistening. "But I was ashamed. I thought if I stayed, I'd drag you down with me. I thought you'd be better off without me." The confession hit me like a punch, and I felt the anger I'd held onto for years begin to crack. "You don't get to decide that for me," I said, my voice trembling. "You broke my heart, Javier. I deserved to know why." "I know," he said, reaching for my hand. "I'm so sorry, Miles. I was a kid and I made the wrong choice. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere." His hand was warm, steady, and for the first time I believed him. But belief wasn't enough, not yet. I pulled my hand away, standing to pace the small living room. "I need to know you won't run again," I said. "I can't go through that twice." He stood, closing the distance between us. "I won't," he said, his voice firm. "I've spent 8 years regretting what I did. I'm not that person anymore." The weeks that followed were a delicate balance of hope and caution. Javier was true to his word, showing up in small, meaningful ways, bringing me coffee during a deadline crunch, texting me silly memes to make me laugh, helping me carry a canvas to an art show. He was patient, never pushing, but always there, a steady presence in the chaos of my life. But the past wasn't done with us. One evening, as we walked through Greenwich Village, a man approached us, tall, broad-shouldered, with Javier's eyes but none of his warmth. "Javier," the man said, his voice cold. "Didn't expect to see you here." Javier froze, his hand tightening around mine. "Dad," he said, the word heavy with years of pain. "What are you doing in New York?" "Business," his father said, his gaze flicking to me, then to our joined hands. His lip curled, and I felt Javier tense beside me. "Still making bad choices, I see." The words were a blade, cutting through the fragile peace we'd built. I stepped forward, my voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside me. "The only bad choice here is you judging someone you don't even know." Javier's father sneered, but Javier spoke before he could respond. "You don't get to do this anymore," he said, his voice low but firm. "You don't get to control me. Not now, not ever again." For a moment, his father looked taken aback, but then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the city's pulse. Javier let out a shaky breath, his hand still in mine. "I'm sorry you had to see that," he said. "Don't be," I said, squeezing his hand. "You stood up to him. That's what matters." That night, we ended up by the Hudson, the city lights reflecting on the water. Javier was quiet, his shoulders slumped, but there was a strength in him I hadn't seen before. I meant what I said. He told me, his voice soft, "I'm done letting him define me. I want to build something real, Miles. With you, if you'll have me." I looked at him, the man who'd hurt me but was fighting to make it right, and felt my heart shift. "I want that too," I said, the words terrifying but true. "But we go slow, okay? We do this right." He smiled, a real, unguarded smile, and pulled me into a hug. His warmth, his scent, his heartbeat. It felt like home, and for the first time in years, I let myself believe in it. Winter settled over New York like a quiet promise, blanketing the city in frost and possibility. Javier and I were finding our rhythm, a tentative dance of trust and affection. We spent evenings cooking together, laughing over burnt rice or stolen kisses between bites. But beneath the warmth, a current of fear ran through me. What if this was too good to last? One snowy afternoon, we volunteered together at a youth shelter in the Bronx, a place Javier's nonprofit supported. The kids were a mix of shy and vibrant, their stories echoing our own. Queer teens navigating a world that didn't always welcome them. I watched Javier kneel beside a 13-year-old named Sam, helping them sketch a comic book character, his patience endless. It struck me how much he'd changed, how he'd turned his pain into purpose. "You're good with them," I said later, as we walked through the snow-dusted streets. "You give them hope." He shrugged, a little embarrassed. "They give me hope too. They remind me why I keep going." I stopped, turning to face him. The snow fell softly around us, catching in his hair, and I felt a surge of something I hadn't let myself feel in years. Love, raw and unguarded. "You're a good man, Javier," I said. "I see it now." His eyes softened, and he reached for my hand. "You make me want to be better, Miles. But love, I learned, doesn't erase the past." A week later, I got a call from my mother in Miami. Her voice was tight, strained. "Your cousin saw Javier's dad at a community event. He's been asking about you, Miles, saying things about you and Javier." My stomach dropped. "What kind of things?" She hesitated. "That you're confused, that Javier's leading you astray. He's stirring up old rumors, trying to make trouble." I hung up, my hands shaking. The past was clawing its way back, threatening the fragile peace we'd built. When I told Javier, his face darkened, but he didn't flinch. "He doesn't get to win," he said. "Not this time." We decided to confront the rumors head-on. Javier organized a community event through his nonprofit, a night of storytelling and art for queer youth and their allies. He asked me to create a mural for the event, something that spoke to our shared journey. I poured myself into it, painting a vibrant cityscape of two figures standing together, their hands linked, surrounded by stars and shadows. It was us, raw and real, a testament to survival. The night of the event was electric, the room packed with kids, families, and supporters. I stood by the mural, my heart pounding as Javier took the stage. He spoke about his past, his father's rejection, and the love that had pulled him through. Our love, flawed but enduring. "This is for Miles," he said, his voice steady. "The man who showed me what it means to be brave." The crowd erupted in applause, and I felt tears prick my eyes. When Javier stepped down, he pulled me into a hug, his lips brushing my forehead. "We're doing this together," he whispered. "No matter what." But the night wasn't without its shadows. Halfway through, I spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Javier's father, his expression unreadable. My heart sank, but Javier squeezed my hand. "Let me handle this," he said. He approached his father, and I watched from a distance, my pulse racing. Their conversation was brief, tense, but Javier stood tall, his voice calm but firm. When he returned, he looked lighter, like a weight had been lifted. "He's not changing," Javier said, his voice steady. "But I'm done letting him control me. He can say what he wants. It doesn't change who I am or who we are." That night, we walked back to my apartment, the city quiet under a fresh layer of snow. Inside, we curled up on my couch, the warmth of his body against mine a quiet anchor. "I'm proud of you," I told him, my voice soft, "for standing up to him, for everything." He smiled, his fingers tracing circles on my hand. "I couldn't have done it without you. You're my strength, Miles." I leaned in, kissing him softly, and for the first time, it felt like a beginning, not an end. The past was still there, but it no longer held us captive. We were writing a new story, one kiss, one moment at a time. Spring came to New York like a quiet revolution, the city blooming with possibility. Javier and I were no longer just testing the waters, we were building something real, something that felt like home. But healing, I learned, wasn't a straight line. It was a journey, one we navigated together, step by careful step. One morning, as we sat in a cafe in Park Slope, Javier slid a small envelope across the table. "Open it," he said, his eyes bright with anticipation. Inside was a key, simple and silver, attached to a note. "Move in with me?" My heart skipped, a mix of joy and fear. "Javier, this is big," I said, my voice catching. "I know," he said, leaning forward. "But I want this, Miles. I want a life with you, not just moments, but all of it, the messy, beautiful parts." I looked at him, the man who'd once broken my heart but had spent every day since proving he was worth trusting. "Yes," I said finally, a smile breaking through. "Let's do it." Moving in together was a whirlwind of boxes and laughter, arguments over furniture and late-night talks about the future. Javier's apartment became ours, a space filled with our art, our music, our love. But the past wasn't done with us yet. One evening, I found an email from an old friend in Miami, forwarded from a community newsletter. It was an article about Javier's father, claiming he was running for a local council seat on a platform of family values, with veiled references to his wayward son. The words stung not just for Javier but for me, for us. "We can't let him do this," I said, showing Javier the email. "He's using you to score points, to hurt people like us." Javier's jaw tightened, but his eyes were steady. "Then we fight back," he said. "Not with anger, but with truth." We decided to return to Miami, to face the past head-on. Javier's nonprofit organized a pride event, a celebration of love and resilience, and we invited everyone. Friends, family, even the community that had once judged us. I painted a new mural for the event, a vibrant tapestry of queer lives, with two figures at its heart, holding hands against a backdrop of stars. The day of the event was humid and bright, Miami's sun blazing overhead. The park was alive with music, laughter, and color, a stark contrast to the fear we'd once felt here. Javier took the stage, his voice carrying over the crowd. "This is for every kid who's ever felt alone," he said. "For every person who's been told they're not enough. You are enough. You are loved." I stood in the crowd, tears streaming down my face, as he spoke about our journey, our pain, our healing, our love. When he called me up to join him, I hesitated, but the crowd's cheers pushed me forward. I took his hand, and together, we unveiled the mural, a symbol of everything we'd overcome. Javier's father was there, standing at the edge of the crowd, his face unreadable. But for the first time, I didn't care. He couldn't touch us anymore. We'd built something stronger than his hate, something that would outlast it. That night, we stood by the ocean, the waves crashing softly at our feet. Javier pulled me close, his arms a safe harbor. "I never thought we'd get here," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But you, Miles, you're my home." I kissed him, the salt of the sea mixing with the warmth of his lips. "You're mine too," I said. "You always were." As we stood there, the stars above us and the past behind us, I realized something profound. The man who'd hurt me years ago had become the only one who could truly heal me, not by erasing the pain, but by walking through it with me hand in hand until we found the light. Our story wasn't perfect, but it was ours, messy, beautiful, and undeniably real. And as the waves rolled in, I knew we'd face whatever came next together, our love a beacon in the dark.